Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We have a very special video today. We are going to be making the very trendy Korean lunchbox cakes. I don't know if you guys have seen this on Instagram, TikTok, or Pinterest, but basically they're these really pretty cakes that are super easy to make at home and a great activity. You can also share these with your friends and family. This is going to be really fun. Let's get right into it. Okay, to start off this recipe, you're going to make a vegan buttermilk. And to do this, in a small bowl or measuring cup, you're going to add 1 cup of your favorite non-dairy milk. I'm using unsweetened vanilla almond. That's my favorite in baked goods. And then to the milk, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. You're going to stir that together and put it aside while you're preparing the rest of the ingredients. We'll use this again later. Okay, now in a large separate bowl, you're going to combine your dry ingredients, starting with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 3/4 cups cocoa powder. You're going to want to sift this because cocoa powder is usually pretty lumpy and we don't want any lumps in this cake. We want it to be nice and moist and smooth and light and fluffy. So next, you're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then you're going to whisk all of your dry ingredients together until they're fully incorporated and there's no lumps or anything like that. As you can see in this next clip, I actually forgot to add the baking soda, so I just added that in before I started mixing in the wet ingredients. Next, what you're going to do is add your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients using the paddle attachment of a stand mixer. So first you're going to do a 1/2 cup of canola oil, 2/3 cup of unsweetened applesauce, 1.5 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and mix until that is fully combined. Putting applesauce in a cake batter might seem a little weird at first, but I promise you, you can't taste the apple, but it adds such a nice moist texture to the final cake without it getting too dense. It also adds a little sweetness in a healthy way. Once those ingredients have been fully combined with your stand mixer, you're going to slowly drizzle in your hot water. You're going to want to do this really slowly so that it's evenly incorporated into the mixture and there's no lumps. This batter will end up being really thin and really smooth. That's your end goal, and just keep in mind if it's super thin, like almost like water, you're doing it right. By the way, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you're wanting to make this cake and you want the full recipe, it's actually on my blog. This is a recipe from the website Nora Cooks, and it's called The Best Vegan Chocolate Cake. It's absolutely delicious, and I definitely recommend you try it. Even if you're not vegan, I'm sure you'll love it. Okay, after you add all your other wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, you're going to finish this cake batter up by adding your buttermilk mixture that we set aside in the very beginning of this video. This batter is, like I said, going to be super thin and almost watery, but that's good. It should be nice and glossy, and they're going to turn out super light and fluffy. We're almost ready to bake these cakes, but first we're going to prepare our cake pans. Because these cakes are so delicate and moist, I find that they stick really easily to the pans. But to fix that, I usually put a little circle of parchment paper in the bottom of each pan, and this is just going to keep the cake more intact while it's baking. You're also going to want to use cooking spray to spray the sides of the pan, and then when it comes out of the oven, use a knife around the edges to gently remove it from the pan. Okay, now you're going to start putting the batter in your cake pans. I'm using 4-inch stainless steel cake pans. I find this is the best size for these little lunchbox cakes. It's going to make them portable and the perfect gift for a friend or family member. They're going to be nice and stable and easy to carry. So I actually used a ladle to put the mixture in each pan. This is just going to ensure that you can get even amounts in each pan. And for these 4-inch pans, I actually got 8, so that made 4 mini cakes that had 2 layers each. So just make sure you're evenly dispersing your batter, and this part's super easy. Now you're just going to bake them at 350 for about 30 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. But because these cakes are so moist, once a toothpick comes out clean, I actually recommend cooking them for 2 or 3 minutes more just to ensure that they're nice and sturdy, enough to hold another layer. So to decorate these cakes, you're gonna need just a few tools, and this is actually gonna make the process so much easier and give you a really nice and smooth exterior for your cakes. So here are a few tips. First things first, if you're gonna be making a lot of cakes or desserts, you might wanna invest in a cake decorating table. So they just look like this, and the back actually spins so that when you're decorating your cake, you can spin it around and get nice and smooth lines. This is a lifesaver, and it's really gonna make a difference in your end result. So this is my little setup. The next thing you might want is one of these little angled spatulas. This makes decorating cakes so easy. It has a little angle. It just makes it really easy to get a nice smooth line as opposed to using like a butter knife or something. I have one that's really big and then a little one, and for a regular cake, this one is so good to get a nice smooth line, but today I'm going to be using the little one because we're making little cakes. So as you can see here, I'm just using a hand mixer to mix together all the ingredients. Again, the full recipe will be on my website. And this is really just going to be to your taste and until it gets to the right texture. You don't want to use too much sugar because then it'll be too thick, but you don't want it to be too watery either. It should be spreadable, but thick enough to keep your cakes together and stay on the sides without dripping down. It should be about this texture when it's done, but as you can see, I added a little brown sugar because it needed to be just a little thicker, and that worked out pretty well and added a lovely taste. Okay, so as you saw, I actually ran out of powdered sugar when I was making this, which is super unfortunate because it's literally one of the main ingredients, but kind of turned into a good thing because the vegan butter makes the frosting have a little less flavor than regular butter would. So I actually substituted some powdered sugar with some brown sugar. So now it'll be like chocolate cake with brown sugar frosting, which I think is a great combo. Like, what's there to go wrong? And do it to your taste. And you really want a thick consistency though, because this is gonna basically be the glue that holds all of your cakes together. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge for about 10 or 15 minutes just to let it stiffen up a little bit, and then I'm gonna frost my cakes. So I'll show you guys that process in a little bit. Okay, so cake decorating is all about practice, and I'm definitely not the best in the world, but I think I have gotten better with time. So first of all, I'm using my angled spatula to put a layer of frosting in between the two layers of the cakes. I actually could have done a little bit more frosting than this, but it actually worked out well. This just depends on how much frosting you want on the cakes. I didn't have that much frosting because, like I said, I ran out of powdered sugar, but if you had more frosting, I would recommend putting a little bit of a thicker layer in between the cakes. Now you're just going to put some frosting on the top and the sides. This is called a crumb coat. It's actually going to make your outer layer of frosting more smooth and look prettier in the end. So really take your time trying to spread this out nice and thin. You don't want a lot of frosting on this layer. It's really just to make a nice base. See the way my angle spatula is actually angled against the cake? This is going to help you get a smooth layer and spin your cake tray as you're smoothing the frosting on. That's going to make it go on really smooth and get a nice and even layer of frosting. Then once you're done with your crumb coat, you're going to pop this in the fridge and let it harden, and then do the same thing with a thicker layer of frosting that will be your outer frosting. You can add food coloring or not. I chose to add food coloring to my outer layer, and you want your outer layer to be thicker. But I forgot to record myself doing that part. I'm really sorry. But it's basically the same thing, just with a thicker layer of frosting. Okay, and finally, once you've done your thicker outer coat of frosting, you could leave it blank, like white frosting, or you could do colored like I did. You're just going to want to decorate these, and you can decorate these with some sprinkles. That's what I had on hand, or you could use a piping bag to do some simple piping around the edges or something like that. Really get creative with these, and the best part about this is each cake you make can be different. So this batch made 4 cakes for me, and each of the 4 were a little different. You could do different colors or anything. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.